and we are live on Second Order Chaos, a very special Wednesday edition. My name is Rando. I almost went by my old radio name there for a second. That would have been awful. Fun fact, my old radio name was Dirty Dan. And I don't know why. I haven't been on radio in literally fucking 10 years, and I almost said that. Yeah, welcome everybody. This is the second broadcast I've done today. Hunter, what's up, man? Welcome to the chat. And it's not a normal Second Order Chaos stream. It is our monthly meetup of DEF CON 610, our local DEF CON meetup group, of which I am part creator. My other right-hand man is in the chat, Mr. Heave Hacker himself, father of the wonderful BSI Lab, who is a hacker icon in her own right. And we claim them as DEF CON 610. They live around here. They come to our meetup. And my other guys are unfortunately indisposed today. So I figured, and normally what we do, I don't know if we actually did it this time, but we normally have a like a pre-meetup because nobody can be like with each other now, like via Zoom or something like that. Well, I'm fucking with my audio. So, and then we've just been streaming. Like if we have talks or whatever, we stream them here, and that's how we do things. But tonight, I thought on the eve of DEF CON, I thought I would try to bug and bother some heads of villages to come and chat with us about different villages at DEF CON, because I think this is a great opportunity to have these everybody's very accessible now. And hold on, mess with my audio for a little bit. All right, that'll work. So one of the silver linings about this whole DEF CON thing is that people who ordinarily wouldn't get to see what goes on, like you can see talks afterwards, right? Like you can see them recorded. You can you can get the data if you're a goon, you're a sock goon, at least I know. You can get a whole like little USB or download them or whatever. Like, and that's awesome. But the villages aren't normally recorded. And it's what makes DEF CON really special is that you have that in-face, in-person interactions in villages, in the hallways, talking to people. So luckily we get to bring that to some people now, which I think is awesome. And people can witness that for free, like get into the DEF CON server and see all this shit for free, which I think is amazing. So to that end, I have invited three of the villages that I'm most excited about. And I am going to start with you, Heisenberg. Could you introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing at DEF CON?
Yeah, my handle's Heisenberg. I live in New Mexico, but don't hold that against me. I am actually not doing a village. I'm actually doing demo labs. I've been the demo lab coordinator for the last couple of years. And what demo labs is, for folks who haven't had a chance to see it, it's basically an opportunity for people throughout the community to go ahead and present the work that they're doing, and they present it in a small interactive forum. So just to what you were speaking about just a little bit earlier, we really value that interactive back and forth between the presenter, the person doing the work, and the community that is going to be using the work, seeing the project, and that sort of thing. So what Demo Labs does is we give we solicit call for papers, just like a normal, speaker track. And like I'm sure a bunch of the other villages do, or a bunch of the villages do as well. But then we go through and we pick the demos that we think are best in class and that need to be seen by the community, and then those are presented at DEF CON. This year it's going to be a little unusual because of course the video format is going to be different, but normally what we'll do is we'll have like 6 parallel tracks at once, and each individual presenter will have an opportunity, almost 2 hours, an hour and 50 minutes, to give a demonstration with screens and do it live right there on the spot and interact with the folks that are there. We typically recommend that people give about 30 to 45-minute spiel about what their demo is, and then people come, drop in, listen for a little while, and then back out and go to another demo. And so it's really been a great opportunity. One of the things that I think is really cool is we see a lot of cutting edge work. You get to interact with the people that are doing the work right there and ask questions, follow-ups. And then the other thing, now that I've been doing this for what I think this is probably my third year organizing demo labs, is it's neat to see a lot of these tools evolve. And I didn't really anticipate this going into it, but many of the tools are coming back for a second or third year. And you say, hey, wait a minute. Why are they coming back for the second or third year? Well, it's cool because at DEF CON last year, a bunch of folks said, hey, it would be neat if tool did X, or have you thought about Y? And so people are going and improving the tools and bringing them back then the next year, and watching these things continue to evolve with the community's interaction and involvement is really, I think, been very rewarding. This year we have demo labs tracks. We have one set up for each individual demo lab that's being presented. And so you can drop in, interact with the author. They've got GitHubs posted, all that kind of stuff. And then throughout the conference in the voice channels 1 and 2, you will have live opportunity to interact with the demo lab presenter. So that's demo labs for safe mode.
Dude, that's awesome. I can't for the life of me figure out how you're figuring out how to do this virtually. How many people, like in general, at a regular, well, first of all, and you may have answered this and I may have missed it, how many years have you been running demo labs at DEF CON?
I think this is my third year now. Third or fourth, something like that, yeah.
Awesome. And like, can you even estimate how many people come in and out and come check it out?
You know, it varies a lot from talk to talk, and I'm always surprised. Last year when we had the rooms there at Planet Hollywood, I think we could hold maybe 100, 150 people in each room. Mm-hmm. And multiple times in several of the talks, I see some folks nodding up and down. You know what I'm talking about. Several of the talks, we had the room jam-packed to fire marshal scary level. And after the demo, then we had to cycle a bunch of people out and get a whole new rent. So we may have had 300-400 people cycle through some of the demos. Some of them, you know, were a lot smaller, but some of them were really wildly popular. And so it just varies from demo to demo. And I'm getting to the point where I can sort of guess which ones are going to be popular, but I always miss that dark horse that I never anticipated. So,
dude, that's awesome. So yes, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to introduce our other guest, Mr. Bo Woods. How are you, sir?
I'm tired, but that's to be expected this time of year.
We're just getting started, sir. Oh, damn, son. Wednesday night.
Yeah, I'm still on the 6-2-1 rule. Not yet the 3-2-1 rule, but it's coming.
Yeah, I don't foresee a lot of sleep in a lot of our futures coming up here this weekend. What do you do at DEF CON?
I try to do a lot of things, I guess. So I'm one of the lead organizers for the Biohacking Village as well as for the Aerospace Village. And new this year is, it started last year, there's a policy goon department that's working with folks like members of Congress or international people in the public policy sphere who want to come to DEF CON and want to make rules and laws that don't suck. So they come and ask us what to do. And it's been a pretty cool experience. I also time to time help out with ICS Village and with the Hack the Sea, the Maritime Village, which is back again this year after a really cool first year last year.
Yeah, that was one of those really awesome sounding villages that it was my first year sock gooning. So I didn't get to go see it really at all. And I was like, that sounds dope. Oh, never mind. I have to go tell this person to get the fuck out of the way. 8 million times over. So that's great. How long have you been involved with the Biohacking Village?
I think this is my fourth year. I did one year where we teamed up and I had somebody bring in some medical devices and just more or less show and tell. And then 2018, we had we brought a bunch of people in. We had 4 medical device makers that we convinced to bring in medical devices and put them in front of hackers to get them to hack on them, find bugs. Said, look, we know we have bugs. Find them and tell us about it, so that the first time we hear about it isn't through a press release from some scammy company that wants to like inflate their stock value, or through the bad guys who are hitting them up to potentially do harm to patients or steal medical records or what have you. So we had a bunch of devices that first year. That was 2018. We also had what we called the Legacy Device Lab, which was this guy who he just collects like vintage quack devices from like the turn of the 1900s, right? And so you have all these devices that are like, the thing you go and play with at the carnival that's like, grab these 2 metal things and we're going to shock the hell out of you. Like, that started out as a medical device. And this guy has one. And he dragged them all out and spent that booth was just packed all 3 days. He couldn't get away, poor guy. 2019, last year, we had a huge room where we had a bunch of medical devices. We actually had, I think, 9 manufacturers brought something like 40 devices. We didn't have enough room for them all. It was crazy. We had 2,600 square feet and we couldn't find extra spaces to put medical devices. So we had a ton of people come in and test them. We also, every year we do the implants. So if you go and get your RFID or NFC implant in your hand, that's kind of been a staple of the biohacking village. Hard to do this year. And we've got a bunch of talks. Everything from, can you figure out what your genetic makeup is and some genetic markers from facial recognition systems, all the way to how to implant electronics inside yourself in an experimental capacity, to manufacturing pharmaceuticals in your own home bioreactor, to how to break and defend medical devices. So like, we run the gamut in the biohacking village. It's crazy. And this year, with COVID and everything, we made the decision early that we needed to do an online only version of the biohacking village. We talked with a bunch of doctors, with the FDA, people who are on the front lines fighting COVID. And they basically said, you'd be crazy to go out and do it in Las Vegas. We said, we're crazy to do it every year in Las Vegas. This year is just a little bit more crazy. They said, but we don't want you to stop doing it. This year is more important than ever. Where we thought maybe some of the people who are on the front lines would say, look, I need a break this year. I just can't do it. I've got too many other things. I'm already redlining, working 80 hours a week to try and get more devices out, or more drugs out, or more testing kits out, or to approve things, ventilators or whatever. They said, no, this is a really important heartbeat of the medical device industry now. It's become something that everyone looks forward to, and it's become something that kind of pushes the envelope. So every year it gets easier to do more and more security stuff. If you guys hold the biohacking village at DEF CON, we're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
Awesome.
Yeah. So then the challenge was, how do we replicate what happened in real life in virtual land, all online? And that's really tough. But we stopped for a second. We said, wait a minute. We don't want to just like forklift this from what we do in person and put it online. That's kind of like if you take a data center and you just virtualize it all by brute force. Yeah. And it's like, all right, we've got all of our servers running on servers over here. Yay, we're in the cloud. It's like, no, let's take advantage of the capabilities we have to do something really unique, really fun, and really different. And to be honest, we're still noodling on that. I think this year, the villages are going to be a bunch of great miniature experiments in how to push the envelope on doing remote virtual events, because there's so many different people doing so many different things. We've got a number of medical device makers who have brought devices. We've actually got an MRI in our AWS environment. Think about how absurd that sounds.
Fucking what?
We've got... I know, right? We literally downloaded an MRI.
You wouldn't download an MRI machine. Yeah, we would.
We've got COVID-19 testing devices, the genetic testing devices, the PCR testers, out hooked up in a lab in San Francisco, and we're remotely connecting them via some whiz-bang technology that the kids are all playing with these days called WireGuard. We've got a bunch of channels on the DEF CON Discord. We, in order to learn the DEF CON Discord, we spawned our own Discord community that we've been building up over the past few months. And it's really cool. We've got a bunch of cool things going on with that. We've got a capture the flag that puts you in the position of somebody who's defending a hospital. Most capture the flags are, attack. But we want people to learn blue team skills, and beyond blue team, we want them to learn what it's like in a real live healthcare environment. One of my first jobs out of college was working at a hospital. And I can tell you, I've never since then seen anything that's quite as intense or quite as challenging as working in a healthcare environment for any number of reasons. So we wanted to really kind of bring that look and feel and the general impressions that people get, the takeaways that people get, instead of just forklifting something over. And I'll say one of the small things I'm most proud about from last year is we had a replica hospital in 2,600 square feet, which was really cool. And we tried to make it down to the point where we actually got the scent of the sanitizers, the like chlorine and iodine. And we had that in the room. So when people walked in, they're like, oh, this even smells like a hospital. And we had all the different rooms lined around. We don't quite have that. We haven't perfected the smell-o-vision this year. But we have recreated what we think is a pretty decent approximation of a hospital network in our AWS infrastructure, as well as some of the connected systems. And we're really eager to get people in and get people cycled through this year.
Man, this is just one of those things that, like, I think I could be going to DEF CON. It could be like my 20th, and I would still not have seen everything. And I still, like, I had no idea this was going on last year. Although when I got to the hotel on Wednesday night, I got staying at Planet Hollywood, and somebody was unloading like a bunch of like medical gurneys from the back of a truck, and I was like, well, this is either a really bad fucking sign or DEF CON starting. And I was like,
yeah, that was us.
Okay, that's what I figured. And there was a girl. I was like, do you need help? It's got my goon on, and she's like, no, we got it. And I was like, all right, carry on, don't die. 1 year at the Biohacking Village. I don't know if you were involved with it yet or not, but I had never gone. So my very first year at DEF CON was 24, and I don't think it was there then. And I was like really scared. I was new, like I didn't know. I didn't want to go in. I thought I'd be like fucking, I don't know what I thought. I'd be made fun of or some shit. And then the next year, I was like, I'm really fucking stoked. I want to go in. And my buddy went to get an implant, and he passed out. And they had to close the village. And I was like, you motherfucker! Like, how dare you? I was like, because I was busy juggling my contest and shit, and I was like, I got like an hour. I'm gonna go over. And he texts me and goes, yo, they just closed the village down because I passed out. I'm like, you fucking idiot.
There's one of those every year.
Thanks for nothing, Lee.
Last year, we actually had a separate room for that so that we wouldn't have to close down the village.
Yeah, now you're thinking.
That, right? This is like network segmentation, right?
Zero trust. We don't trust you to not get unconscious. Cool. I think you said you're on a time crunch, correct? Bo,
yeah, I can stick around until 7 Eastern.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, well then we're fine. So I'm gonna come back to you because I got more questions for you. But I also want to get to our next guest who runs the Ham Radio Village. Tell us who you are and what you do, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. So my name is Eric, call signs AI0J. The founder of the Ham Radio Village, which was a new village last year. So that was exciting to be a very young fledgling village in a very established DEF CON. One of the interesting things, at the end of last year, of course, we had no idea what we were doing, as turns out all villages do every year. But, we still got to the end of DEF CON. We made it through. It was a really successful first year. And, we talked to another team and said, well, at least next year we'll know what we're doing. Well, how wrong were we on that?
Right. Yeah, it's to be a breeze next year.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? I definitely won't say that at the end of this year because I don't want to see how
Don't jinx this,
next year what
goddamn.
we do it over. But yeah, Ham Radio Village. Ham Radio has had a huge presence at DEF CON for many years. We've had ham exams at DEF CON as far back as I know, which at least dates back to the Rio days. I don't know if they had them back in like the AP or anything like that. But and as part of that team, and every year we'd always get people, to come. They take their test, they get licensed, it's great, and then they say, okay, well, is there anything else ham radio like here at DEF CON? And the answer always is, well, yes. I mean, you can go to Wireless Village, and they absolutely have a ton of hams there, and they do some fox hunting and things like that. But it wasn't really sort of centrally focused on solely ham radio. And so we wanted to sort of expand upon that. Wireless Village is huge in and of itself, and there's only so much they can do. And obviously, we're good friends with all those folks. But we wanted to sort of give something a bit more. A lot of people come and get their license, and then they don't pick up the radio ever, right? And that's not great for the hobby and for those folks, right? And so we just want to sort of have a space where they can come, they can learn about, how to become a good, ham radio operator, or what you can do with ham radio, because there's like a whole wide world, right? I mean, from anything, right? I mean, everyone sort of has the opinion of, or, well, that's what my grandpa did, right? He got that old vacuum tube radio and he talked to people far away, and that's cool, but like, we have cell phones now, right? And there's a lot more we can do.
So you said that last year was the first year for ham radio. How did you approach getting a village developed and submitted? Like, did you have guidance on that? Did you just kind of have to like figure that shit out and hope they accepted it? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, every year there's an open call for villages, and so even if you are in a village that's been there every year, whether it's Wireless Village, Blue Team Village, whatever, you technically have to submit your application again every year. Now, obviously, like there's no question that like Blue Team Village is going to be back every year. And there's been a number of new villages over the years, and so yeah, it's just like, okay, hey, fill out this form, give a quick blurb of what you want to do with your village and what it's about, and then you send it on to an email address at defcon.org, and then you wait. And last year was interesting because they were adding some new villages, but unlike some of the previous years, they weren't adding as many new villages, because they'd already added quite a bit. And so the initial sort of round of villages was approved, and we hadn't heard anything back. So like, oh, okay, well, I guess, we didn't get it. Like, no big deal, right? No, just get off my back. I'll still go to DEF CON, have fun. We'll still do exams. And then I think about 2.5, maybe 3 months before DEF CON, like, oh, hey, by the way, you've been approved. So yeah, you can go get your village ready, and you have a couple months.
Jeez. Yeah, that's gotta be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it definitely is, and like all things, with DEF CON, everything turns out to be last-minute planning and scrambling. But we had a great team of some core supporters. Last year, really kind of jumped on and gave some demos, and we had a couple of talks that weren't even originally on the schedule, and so people came and said, hey, I want to give a talk. Like, I've had a bunch of people stop me in the hallway about my tape measure Yagi antenna. Can I give a talk about it? It's like, sure, go over there and talk about that, right? So I mean, it ended up being a really successful year. This year, obviously, we plan to be back. We hoped we weren't that disliked last year. And of course we were invited back, and then as things went south, I said, okay, who wants to be part of safe mode? And we said, absolutely, right? I mean, ham radio has always been about overcoming adverse conditions and communicating in those. So it's kind of natural for us. So it'll be interesting to see, definitely some of the plans have changed of what we wanted to do, but it also opens up some new plans. We can actually do a bit more, on-air demos and things like that, because it turns out it's pretty hard to get antennas and signal out in the Flamingo Conference Center, but it's a little easier for us. Yeah, we actually last year we had an APRS station, a whisper station, sorry, which is normally a very low power signal mode, use a couple watts. And we were just trying to demo just getting an actual signal out, but we were in the room in the antenna, and I think we ended up pumping like 50 or 60 watts into it just to get picked up like in the Vegas metro. So, yeah.
That's crazy. All right, I got more questions for you too, but we have another player that's entered the game, Miss Bia Scilab. Hi, Bia.
Hi, Danny. What's up?
Hey, it's long time no see. I miss you so much. How is everything?
Pretty good, Cat's walking in the background, doing her thing.
Following you, stalking you. What are you doing at DEF CON this year?
Well, I'm doing a talk at the voting village on voting by mail and just going over some myths of voting by mail and stuff. So you got to check that out because I think I did a good job. We'll see.
I'm positive you did a good job. You are probably the most qualified member of DEF CON 610 to do anything.
Thanks.
Like I'm not even qualified to like. Usually we have a meetup at this pub and brewery here in Easton, and I'm not even qualified to order off the menu, like let alone do half the stuff that you do.
Yeah, we have to order for Danny. It's quite embarrassing.
Yeah, well, I'm also very busy and important man. I can't be bothered to learn to read a menu. You also run. Is it like an official Girls Who Hack? Is that like an official org now?
Yep, it is. I have 2 classes posted on the Girls Who Hack website. One is building a home lab, and the other is intro to web application hacking. And back to the voting thing, I'm also running an election reporting system at DEF CON for anyone who wants to try to change the vote count results. If they do that, I have cool Hack 5 prizes for anyone who does it first and says, hey, Bia! More details on that at secureopenvote.org.
.com.
Real like apropos of nothing. So we've all been in lockdown, and like I've actually seen Heave. Him and I went shooting together recently, but I haven't seen Bia for quite some time. And you've gotten so much bigger that I'm a little emotional about it right now. It's making me both very happy and incredibly sad. But we're all super proud of you. So I'm happy that you're on right now. Let's go to Demo Labs. Back to Demo Labs. Back to Heisenberg. What's been the coolest thing that you've seen that has been like submitted and demoed over the years that you've done this?
You know, I know it's going to sound like a chicken out answer because there are just so many demos. We had Mike, or we had Dark Matter on with his Wi-Fi cactus.
I love him so much.
And you know, not just the fact that the cactus is so cool, but the fact that Dark Matter brings such energy to everything that he does. You know, it's just when you see him talk, even if you're not really into Wi-Fi stuff, you get so excited because he's so excited, you know, and so that's kind of an example of sometimes the technology is really cool, but sometimes just the fact that the person is so into what they're doing, it's contagious. You know, it makes you want to go out and try that just because they love it so much. And so that has been probably one of the things that has been absolutely the coolest. And there are some talks, I can't really think of any right off the top of my head, but there are some talks where I'm sitting there looking at the call and I'm thinking, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually a little worried about this because on the one hand, people got to know this. On the other hand, wow, when people find this out,
right?
You know, and so sometimes it's a little bit of a double-edged sword when you're sitting there getting ready to think, this is going to be a paradigm changer. We got to know about it.
Yeah.
But man, so anyway, those are a couple that just come to my mind.
Sorry, I was trying to unfuck my video because I think somebody dropped or left or came back. What are we looking for? All right, cool. Yeah, no, like you know, and that's kind of like, hold on, I'm gonna un-f my video right now. All right, now I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like the universal thing that we all have to go through of like, how cool is this that people have to know about it, and yet there's gonna be assholes out there that are gonna be like, hey, how can I use this to do effed up shit? So no, that's awesome. Let's go back to Biohacking Village. have you ever gotten any like pushback from the casinos on what you do, having to deal with like bio stuff?
Not a lot of pushback. We did have an anthrax scare a
what?
few years ago. Anthrax scare,
Get
as
the
you'll do.
fuck out of here.
So a few years ago,
The band Anthrax was at DEF CON? Did I miss that?
yes, and they came down with anthrax too. It was this weird meta thing that just happened like only at DEF CON, right? So a few years ago, we gave out an agar plate and some yeast. And the idea was that you would grow the yeast on the agar plate. It's like this little cool bio thing. And that was our badge, right? So it was really cool. It was really neat. Yeast is like this little white powder that is definitely like, it looks organic. It smells a little bit organic and funky. So if you, let's say, happen to spill your vial of yeast on the ground and you can't pick it up, so it gets stepped on, and then there's just this pile of white-looking powder with a broken vial next to it, someone might naturally panic a little bit. And somebody who's like coming in with biohazard, like not the band biohazard,
Right.
but real biohazard hazmat suit on to try and clean it up. So we had that happen once. But, you know, the casinos have by and large been pretty cool with it. They've been open, permissive. The one thing we are starting to run into is Nevada is looking at passing some laws about chip implants. So you might remember a couple of years ago, I think it was, there was a company in Sweden that was going to chip all of their employees so that they could follow them around and know where they're going, what they're doing, badge in, badge out, that kind of thing. The employees seem to be okay with it. So, you know, there's probably more to the story than just the headline. But I think partially in response to that, Nevada either tried or actually did pass a law that says you cannot implant someone with a chip, that it was illegal to do so. And so we had to like spin up really quickly and start looking at that. And then they made some modifications to it. They did some other things, but it seems like they were mostly trying to prevent people from being forced into RFID implants for tracking purposes. So that was a little bit weird for a little while. We had to kind of figure out what the legal ramifications were going to be.
And to Eric, I'll actually ask you the same thing about, because you had mentioned about how you had to go through some hoops to get like signals out and stuff. I imagine that the casinos work very hard to stop excess signals coming out for probably all manner of ways to cheat at their games and things like that. Did you have to run into any considerations like that? Did hotel security get wind of what you were doing? Like, did you get weird visits or anything? Were there any weird like hurdles you had to go over because of what you needed to do?
I mean, what's interesting is we were in the Flamingo, which is definitely one of the older hotels in the Strip, and so I think the 50 years of plaster and renovations and wires run through the ceiling kind of does a sort of defense for them. Like they don't need to put tech shield all over everything because just the building itself is thick and metal. So definitely had problems with that. Interesting on the hotel security side. A couple years ago, before the Village was actually even a thing, the Fox Hunt was still a contest. And so part of the Fox Hunt is they put small transmitters around the casino or around the conference area, and they're kind of obscured and hidden for a good reason. And people have to find them. And one year, hotel security all of a sudden looked behind a curtain. They saw this box with wires and lights and an antenna on it. And needless to say, they weren't happy about that. They freaked out, like, what is this? Is this a bomb? I mean, they didn't get as far as calling bomb squad or anything. Luckily, eventually someone finally looked at it and noticed the giant sticker that says, please call this number or email this person about questions about this, Fox Hunt.
Yeah.
Not a bomb, right? And it turns out when you label something not a bomb, people actually believe that, which is kind of weird, but, just as pro tip, I guess. But,
yeah.
So that was probably the most interesting thing with that. This year originally, right, they were planning on being in the new Caesars Forum. So we were hoping, given that it wasn't, a giant hotel tower, that we were going to be able to work with the on-site teams and get some antenna cables outside somewhere, so we could get some antennas to do some demos. Outside of that, connecting remotely over the internet to a station somewhere else is kind of the plan B on that.
Somebody in the chat distracted me, going like, "Hey, does anybody remember when a box cutter fell out of the ceiling last year in SC Village and hit somebody?" That was literally nothing related to what you were just talking about. So this might be fun in case anybody has them. Do any of my guests have questions for the other guests? Like, is somebody is Bio Village curious about something from Ham? And I will leave that open. Bia or Heave, do you have any questions? I've dominated all of this. Go ahead.
So
What do I want to know? Oh yeah, that question. Okay, I forget. But if I were to get a ham radio license, like at this age, because I know you can, do I have to take the test in person, or can I just is there just in person, or can you take an online test?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's almost like it was planted. It's so good. But tests actually, traditionally have been in person because of COVID. A lot of things have started to move online for that, and so there are online tests you do, just like any other online test. You get a webcam. You make sure you don't have cheat sheets all around you, things like that. You can actually take them. We are offering some exam sessions actually at DEF CON this year, and for minors as well as I think active military, the fee is waived. So it's actually completely free. So, yep.
Ooh, fancy. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, and we usually see a few kids every year come in and get their exam, so it's definitely not unheard of, and it's just kind of cool to say you got licensed at DEF CON. I actually personally got first licensed at DEF CON way back in the day as well. So.
Bo, did you have a question for one of the other guys?
Yeah, I was curious. Heisenberg Demo Lab is super cool. What made you jump in and be like, there really needs to be a demo lab, right? Like, what was the thing that you saw or the thing that you realized that catalyzed that in you?
Well, demo labs actually existed before I started getting involved with DEF CON. I'm kind of a recent comer to DEF CON, so I think it was existing a year or two before I got involved, and it's a sub out of contests and events, and I think the thing that really attracted me to it is because I know I know Black Hat does something similar to it in the form of their arsenals and things, but I go to arsenals every year mainly because I like to see some of the talks that are going to ours, but also I felt like we had an opportunity at DEF CON to put our unique stamp on it and make it uniquely DEF CON. And so the opportunity to do that and to give folks, particularly folks that it's their first time getting started in a project and they really want to get it out and get some exposure in the community, just the opportunity to give that interaction and that ability and that platform, to me, I'm psyched about it every year. I just love that opportunity. That's what attracted it to me. And I hope that as we continue to go with demo labs, that we can keep that sort of close and intimate feel, so that the connection between the people that are working doing the project and the people that are using the project and collaborating, that we can really keep that, because that's kind of a core value, and that's what I'm really most excited about.
Any other questions from anybody else on the panel for the other guests?
Yeah, I had a question for Bo. You said you were involved in the Aviation Village a little bit?
Yeah, it's
cool.
Become the aerospace village now. It was so this is something that I've been working on for about 3 or 4 years now to try and get something to DEF CON. The original plan was I wanted to bring a plane and just put it in the contest villages at event space like a plane deconstructed, right? So you've got the seats, you've got the cockpit, and then just have people like sitting in the seats testing the IFE, in-flight entertainment system, or hooked up to the cockpit and like trying to do things. Because there's all this hype around like, well, airplanes are hackable, no, they're not hackable, and people just going back and forth. But there's not a whole lot of actual fact-based evidence out there. The government and the airplane manufacturers say, no, trust us, we've got this. The security researchers, the hacker side, say well, no, it's actually all insecure, and I can do this and this and this. And so in the absence of real good, conclusive, fact-based body of evidence people can turn to, whenever you have something like an air disaster happen, one of the first things that somebody does is they hop on any TV show or radio show that they can and say, it was hacked, it was all hacked, this is terrible. And like, that's not good for anybody, especially people who fly often like most of us do. So I wanted a way to be able to connect those two groups of people together, to have really high value conversations, so that the people in the aerospace industry and community would understand that these hackers aren't all crazy. Like, some of them are pilots, some of them are actually aerospace engineers. You might not know it from looking at them, but some of them hang out at DEF CON. And vice versa, right? To understand on the hacker side that the people in aerospace, like, they know a thing or two about like physics and about secure coding. Heck, I think they're probably the only industry that does provably secure components for some of their stuff, right? Formal methods is actually in use in the aerospace industry, where it's not in use anywhere else, right? There's a reason why when people want to know some of the best ways to do coding, when it absolutely must be secure, they turn to like NASA, who has a track record of this, right? So like, there's so much to learn from each other, and there's so much there that it just seemed like a miss to not have that. So we started last year. We had some resistance from industry, some resistance from others. Ended up having just an amazing floor space out there. We had an F-35 simulator, for instance. We brought cockpits. People, some of the hackers in the community, like Patrick Kiley and like Ken Monroe from Pentest Partners, brought cockpits. Ken flew them over from the UK. That couldn't have been cheap. Patrick lives in Vegas, so it was a little bit cheaper. But we had like cockpits there that people could sit in and play with. We had flight simulators that were hooked up. We had little games, puzzles. We had electronics. We had a little workshop where you could build an ADS-B receiver and like track the flights that are going by overhead. We had some really cool stuff. And I think a lot of people at DEF CON kind of fell in love with it, came back to do it this year. And of course, like, COVID hit. So we had to adjust. But you may have seen the Hack a Satellite Challenge that the Air Force is running with Aerospace Village. That's really cool. There's a handful of other satellite workshops and events that are going to be going on this weekend. There's so much going on with that village. I can't even keep track of it all.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you guys do that. I'm a private pilot myself, and one of the things that's been concerning me, I'm kind of hoping that as you guys continue to build confidence with the various vendors, manufacturers, things like that, in the general aviation community, a lot of the primary flight instrumentation is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled, and I've been wondering. I wonder how secure some of this stuff is, and I haven't, because it's going into a certified aircraft. I really haven't gone and tinkered with any of it, but it's, I think hopefully as you guys get a lot of confidence with those vendors, we can start building a platform to bring the commercial stuff, but even the general aviation community, because the people are going to be, the general aviation pilot is oftentimes older and oftentimes not computer savvy, and helping them secure that stuff as much as possible, I think, is going to be an important aspect.
Yeah, and we've made some big strides, I think, working with the Aviation ISAC, working with some of the other industry bodies, to kind of turn them on to the fact that, not all hackers are going to tweet about how they can hack a plane from a plane. And we're not all troublemakers. Those are just the really visible ones. And we actually we were able to form some good alliances with private sector. But one of the coolest things I think that managed to happen is partly because of some of our work and partly because of the guy who heads up the village now. We got language drafted into a UN charter for ICAO, which I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically the global aerospace body that basically says, hey, by the way, countries, you should figure out how to work with hackers. They're good people and they want to make the world secure. And basically, it's the closest thing you can get to the UN saying you should have a coordinated vulnerability disclosure program for aviation.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah.
I think, and we got like 5 minutes left. I know all of you guys are super busy. Bia, Eric, Heisenberg, Bo, you guys are all really, really busy. I wanted to get all of you together because we have DEF CON groups all across the world now. This is mine that we have here in Easton, Pennsylvania. We have one in Jersey, New York, and like all across the world. And the reason for them is we want to keep this exact spirit up all year long. Like the whole DEF CON thing isn't just for one weekend in Vegas where you go and get fucking hammered for 8 days and then come home. Like you want to continue that spirit and work with like your friends and do cool projects. And I'm always astounded by the sincerity of people like Bo and of like Eric and of like Heisenberg when you do these things that like, yes, we are hacking shit from private sector and we are trying to figure out how it works, but we want to work with you. Like I've yet to hear a village saying, no, go fuck yourself. We're going to mess your shit up and we don't care. It's usually the other way around of those companies and those technologies being like, hey, don't touch our shit. We don't want to know how broken it is. So the reason I'm always so encouraged is because of that spirit of like, if you just work with us, we're willing to work with you. And I think that is the core principle of what DEF CON groups is all about, of like doing cool shit and working with other people and figuring out how to get that research out into the world to actually make it better and not just fuck shit up. So, final thoughts from everybody. I'm going to start with Bia, whether it's about Girls Who Hack or DEF CON in general. Give us final thoughts, Bia.
This year has been nuts, just in general. I thought, hey, we're all stuck at home, it's not going to be busy, and then everything just happened. It's been very crazy having to like film talks and do that sort of stuff. I've never filmed a talk except for when I'm actually on stage doing a real talk and they just film it from the back or something like that. So that was a whole nother experience of a lot of editing. So honestly, it's been crazy. It's kind of cool that all the conferences are still going on because DEF CON's never going to be canceled. We all know that. So I just feel like it's really cool that everything's still going on, even if COVID's going on.
God, I can't wait to see you again. You're amazing. And check out Girls Who Hack. .com or .net?
.com.
Girlswhohack.com. Heisenberg, closing thoughts from you.
Just want to put out a plug. If you guys know of some work that's being done, particularly if that person maybe not is willing to reach out or something like that, isn't really very outgoing or something, but it's doing really cool work, put them in touch with me. Get a DM, hit me up on Twitter, get in touch with me some way and let me know. I love reaching out to those projects and helping draw them out of the community. So make sure and keep your eyes open.
That's awesome. You're a good dude. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks, man.
Eric, closing thoughts from you from Ham Radio.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely just excited to be part of DEF CON safe mode and see what that brings. There's been talks we could see like a couple 100,000 people on the server this weekend. So that'll be exciting.
I can't wait to moderate.
Limelight, yeah. We might accidentally become one of the largest Ham Radio events, but that'd be cool. So excited about that. Definitely, I think it's bittersweet. Obviously, I think all of us love, the week off, the hacker summer camp, right, and the Vegas heat, and getting a chance to just completely disconnect from, our paying jobs and our real world, right, and getting to hang out with all our friends. So a little bit, bittersweet around that, but excited to see just how the online event goes. So, and thanks for having me.
No, dude, again, I cannot express how grateful I am for the time, especially I can't, like, the hubris of asking people who run labs and villages to spend an hour talking to somebody they haven't met before. The absolute ego of that is astounding. Bo, final thoughts from you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I'll follow up on what you just said. Yeah, you know what? Maybe among some people it would be hubris, but this is the hacking community, right? So like, we're all friends. We know each other on Twitter. And as tired as I already am, and as tired as we all will be, by the end of the weekend, it's an absolutely amazing opportunity to come together with people. I'm so excited to actually get back in person next year. But more importantly, this weekend. So I hope everybody comes and hangs out on the DEF CON server, checks out all the village stuff that's going on, all the demo labs, all the contests and events, and just has a great time.
Well said. Well, yeah, it's it was definitely, it was hard to get into the mood, and then when it was finally coming, as you start to get really sad about it, that it's not, you can't see all of your friends, and you can't be in person, and then like something changed a few days ago, at least for me, and like my brain got a little itchy, and I started to get a little excited, like, because shit's still happening. And so, and I think that's magical. And I applaud the entire DEF CON leadership, CJ, Nikita, DT, Grifter, everybody in there that is working their little asses off to make this work. And we all buy into it. Like, we all want to make it work. So whether you run your own DEF CON group, you run your village, you run your labs, contests, goon, swag, whatever you do, I mean, we're all part of this thing. So that's why I want to have all of you on. And I thank you so much for your time. Everybody in chat, thank you so much for hanging out. If you dig the interviews that I do, it's on, I have all of them up on youtube.com/secondorderchaos. And I'll be back, what is it, Wednesday, so Thursday, tomorrow night, I'm just going to do streams all week. It's going to be an all goon. I'm just going to have nothing but sock goons on. So that's going to be a shit show. So tomorrow night, probably 9 o'clock Eastern, we're doing an all goon Second Order Chaos. Friday night, I am talking to the and XOR crew, the legendary badge makers. They are going to be on the show talking about their badges, talking about Vegas. Saturday night, following Hacker Jeopardy at 11 o'clock Eastern, my contest, Who Slides It Anyway? We are doing that shit, and I'm going to find a way to make it fun. So, yes, until then, I will talk to all of you on the DEF CON Discord server. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Rando. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.